here's the deal with comprehensible input. Stephen Krashen has the idea that there's only one way to acquire language, which is when you understand a message. There's a lot about that is very, very right. Nothing that I'm going to say in this video is 180 degrees opposed to anything that Stephen Krashen says. It's 90 degrees opposed. Most of it is right and raises some very interesting points. First of all, that acquiring versus learning, I'll take that. Those are great terms. Learning is, I call it studying language versus using language. That's what I call it. Studying language just gets you not very far, and using language is it's the means and the end. You're looking to be able to be conversational in the language, unless it's ancient, Greek. And so conversation is both the means and the end. You need to practice conversation in order to be conversational. That distinction is very good. However, the idea that there's only one way to acquire language, which is understanding a message, that's in the right spirit. That's right. It's not. He's not 100. He's correct adjacent, is what we'll call it. There's two ways that language acquisition happens. One is that you understand a message. The second is that you make your message understood. We can call that comprehensible output. I think that's obvious and self-evident, and with the spirit of comprehensible input, if you're going to have comprehensible input, we should also talk about comprehensible output. Further, I believe comprehensible input, or the people who go, oh yes, oh, like the Morpheus meme, where it's like, oh, what if I told you all you need is comprehensible input? I think that part of why that's so appealing to people who aren't necessarily like predisposed to being great language. I think anyone can be a great language learner, but some people it comes natural to, and other people are like, oh, I don't. They're not necessarily, which is normal. So I think part of why that's appealing to those who aren't really like sure how to learn languages, it's appealing because output, speaking, can be daunting. It can be weird, uncomfortable. Krashen himself talks about how speaking is very uncomfortable. If you make someone speak before they're ready, it's very uncomfortable, So the person who's shy to speak doesn't want to sound like a baby. Like if I'm an adult and all of a sudden I sound like worse than a first grader, 'cause like that doesn't fly with me. So if you tell me, hey, listen, the real deal is you just listen. Just listen. I'm going to go, ooh, I'm going to go, oh, thank God. Fine. This is something I can get behind. Just got to listen. It's just got to be comprehensible. That's going to sound great for that person because they can say, oh, well, just like Krashen says, being able to speak comes as a result of understanding a lot. That's true for a child. You cannot make a child speak. They listen, then they start speaking. So this is good pedagogy. But it's not good, what's the word for that? Adult learning. Pedagogy and something. Child learning is pedagogy. It's for sure. But Krashen says you can't teach someone to speak. You cannot teach. There's no way to teach someone. There's no way to teach a child how to speak. You can't teach an adult how to speak. You can teach me how to speak. We can teach adults how to speak. Give me a couple of words. I'll be speaking this language. I'll be leaving the baby, in the dust, speaking this new language. Because you give me verbs, vocab, useful expressions, I'm mixing and matching verbs and vocab, I'm going all day. So, you can't teach someone to speak. No, you can definitely teach someone how to speak. If we're going to talk about comprehensible input, we should be talking about comprehensible output. And we shouldn't be hiding behind the comprehensible input idea just because I'm shy to speak. No, there is technique, there is strategy and technique in terms of learning how to speak. This has always been my thing. I'm without knowing it, I'm the comprehensible output guy. Here's the next and final point on this. Comprehensible input is for sure. That's for sure. The more you can produce, the more comprehensible the input becomes. In other words, the more words you know, the more ideas you can express, the more ideas you can understand. So using the Krashen favorite, the German, oh, this is my head, right? I can't do it in German, but let's try it in Spanish. This is my head. Esto es mi cabeza. Ojos, orejas. Tengo dos orejas, dos ojos, pero solo una nariz, una boca, right? And you'll go, oh, that's beautiful. I understood that. Amazing. I can understand German. I can understand Spanish because I understood as someone talked about the realia. That's what the thing that you're talking about. That's only half. That's only half of the situation. That's only half of the situation, because when will you be able to talk about your own cabeza, your own head? When will you be able to do that? You're going to be able to do that somehow without trying? No. What we need is for that comprehensible input to deliberately turn into comprehensible output. So the way that works is through what I call an OPI strategy, which is where a question comes at you. You have to answer the question. The question is the resistance that makes you speak. Without resistance, you don't build muscle. It's like lifting weights with nothing in your hand. A question, the form of an OPI, speaking test where you have to answer questions, that will show you that the circuit has been complete. Comprehensible input is great, but you want to be able to speak to its two sides of the same coin. So in order for that to happen, we need to figure out a way where I can say, what's this called? And you go, oh, eso se llama la cabeza. And what are these? Oh, orejas. How many ears? Dos, uno, dos, and you say dos. If we're talking about comprehensible output, we should talk about comprehensible input. Comprehensible output makes the input more comprehensible, and you don't shy away from speaking because you're shy and you hide behind comprehensible input.